Hey, GLP-1 plus sides community. Before we jump into the podcast, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review on whatever audio platform you're listening to the podcast on. Share your story and how the podcast has helped you. This will help us get referred up in the audio platform so that we can reach more people that need our help, our support, and guidance from our doctors. Help us get loud and change things.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Hey everyone, before we dive in, I really want to share something personal with you. About, I want to say like 8 to 10 months ago, after losing 100 pounds on GLP-1s and keeping it off for a long time, I started regaining out of nowhere, and I was terrified. But I also started having hot flashes and bouts of crying and snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m. unable to go back to sleep. It turns out I was in perimenopause. So I started hormone replacement therapy, which is also called HRT, through a telehealth called Winona that specializes in this. And it changed everything. And now I'm sleeping better. And my hot flashes are all but gone, thank God. And I feel like myself again. And it turns out that you can actually start perimenopause as early as 35. And well, I'm 46 and she's here. HRT has really come a long way, and there's just no need to suffer anymore. So if you're like this and you're in the same boat, you can check out buywinona.com and you can use the link in our link tree to save some money.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
All right. Right.
Go ahead. Oh, I did want to ask one question while Kat was reading the one I just sent her. But in terms of insulin resistance, we are often told that it's very difficult to diagnose, or there's not like a really set way to do it. But a lot of doctors don't test your insulin levels. They just check your A1C, or they just check your fasting glucose, and then they just assume that you don't have it. But what our doctors have shared with us, specifically Dr. Mantia, is that about 93% of people that have obesity have insulin resistance, right? And I think understanding there's treatments for that. And a lot of women that we have had on our show or that watch our show have PCOS. And we talked about how PCOS, an underlying piece of that is insulin resistance, right? Is there something that somebody can do if they are struggling with maybe something they think is PCOS or struggling with obesity? Is there a specific test they can ask for? Can they ask to have their insulin levels checked, or maybe the type of doctor they need to go to do that, so that they can kind of, at least a lot of times I think we just want to validate it, right? We just want to understand, that this is an issue, because a lot, I think mentally, for those of us that have obesity, it's hard for us to just be like, we have obesity, because many people, I don't think, have yet bought in, which is crazy. Even us mentally bought into the fact that this is a disease. This is a chronic disease, regardless of how we got here. We're here, And so I was just curious about that. If you could give us some our listeners some insight if that's something they want to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I totally agree. So, insulin resistance, by the time we're going to pick it up with an A1C or a fasting blood sugar level, it's progressed and we can
Mhm.
catch it many years. I've heard up to 15 years early if we're checking insulin levels, fasting insulin levels. And usually you want to check it. So you'll check your fasting insulin along with a fasting blood sugar, and then there's a calculation that can be done and then can determine if you likely have insulin resistance or not. And so that can be really helpful to have that answer. I think that the reason that many doctors don't do that is one, they may not be aware that um, either that test is available or that it could be clinically helpful. Insurance may not cover it, so that
Yeah.
definitely is something to consider. And that's something that I bring up with my patients. Um, and so usually if that's a concern, if we're worried about insulin resistance or a patient brings that up to me or I have that concern, we can consider testing for it. And then, like you said, we have that validation and that can be really powerful. But we also know that it is highly likely that there is insulin resistance. So right now it would be unlikely that it's going to change our management.
Right.
And ideally, if these medications, the GLP-1 agonists, were FDA approved for insulin resistance, and potentially that could happen in the future, then knowing that there is insulin resistance, potentially that could get it covered. But yeah, fingers crossed that
Right.
that would
Never
happen.
even thought of that.
Um,
Yeah. Right.
yeah, that would be amazing, an amazing indication. But right now that's not the case. So that's what I would say. It could be helpful if you want to have, that answer. Do you have insulin resistance?
Yeah.
But it may not change anything. So if the cost for the lab is expensive
Mhm.
in your area, then it may not be worth it at
Mhm.
this time.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Kat.
you're welcome.
You're fine. So speaking of, when we were talking a little bit like how your body is fighting to regain or fighting to get to that point because we're no longer hunter-gatherers. How does GLP-1 medications or how do the therapies help you maintain your loss and kind of help you prevent that regain, if you will?
Yeah. So this is a really important question because I see so much on social media about these medications don't work because when you stop them, then people gain their weight back. And that means nothing about if they work or not. Actually, it highlights the fact that they do work because when you're taking them, then you lose or maintain your weight. And so again just goes back to the fact that obesity is a chronic medical condition that requires chronic treatment. And so when you're on the treatment and it's working and it's safe to take long term, which these medications are, then they should be continued because then you're going to be continuing to treat the underlying condition. And then when you remove the medication, then the insulin resistance comes back, food
Mhm.
noise comes back, and then
Yeah.
the weight comes back.
Yeah. And then I think, I'll just say I do think maintenance on these meds is still, I don't know. I feel like we're cutting edge.
No man's
You know,
land. Yep.
we're still kind of trying to figure it out. I'd love to know your take on that. But I will tell you, I've lost 110 pounds, but my BMI is still an obese BMI, not even overweight. And it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't really matter. It's not, for this treatment where we are now, you know what I mean? It's, that's it for me. And ultimately though, 110 pounds has significantly improved my health,
Yes.
which is great.
That feels good.
And that's the goal. And that's why I think it's about health, not weight. I had Dr. Galindo on the show and she's on TikTok too as well. And she saw that I was feeling kind of bad about it. And she said, actually for tirzepatide for obesity, over 3 years, the average weight loss was 55 pounds. So I've doubled that, right? But still, it is easy for us to get in a place where we feel like we are failing because we are not, at a regular weight. So I think there needs to be some discussion around that, right? About how reducing your weight is a good thing, no matter what, right? And I will tell you, as someone who's lost weight, I still bounce around even after all this time, 2.5 years later, about 5 pounds, sometimes 10, sometimes 5, sometimes 10, sometimes 5. but I've never regained more than that, 5 or 10 pounds. I go down. And I think that's what it is. So like, as someone who's experienced this, right, there are times where I'm going to have another Oreo. There are times where I'm not going to make the best food choices. There are times, and I feel very strongly that I have every right to live like everybody else. Just because I have a chronic disease does not mean I cannot have a rich, full life, And there are times when that happens. But I think the difference is I'm able to kind of recognize it and rein it back in and not do it every day and not do it all the time and not put myself in a weird, I have to fast or I have to binge or I have to go exercise like crazy. I have to go earn my food mental state that I feel like is very, very possible, or at least for sure the way that I was before the medicine. So I think that the whole idea of chronic weight management, I feel like that's what it is. And that's just like my perception, but I'd love to know your thought on that.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. And I have two thoughts. One is that I really do try to create health-related goals with my patients rather than weight goals. Because we don't know exactly where we'll land as far as your best weight. And that's another term that I like to use, is best weight.
Best weight.
And what I've heard best weight defined as is the weight that you can reasonably manage and maintain long term. So like you said, you're not doing anything extreme. You are able to have, these indulgences here and there and enjoy your food and just feel really well in your body, and your health conditions, if you have them, are controlled or in remission, and the treatment plan, just essentially the treatment plan that you have, will work long term, is what our goal is, rather than getting everybody to a normal BMI. That is not the goal whatsoever. Everyone's going to fall into a different best weight for them, and that's highly individualized. And it is very normal to fluctuate your weight from day to day or week to week, especially women with our cycles, but really anybody. And in the 5 to 10% range is very typical. Often that's water weight, or like, did you have a bowel movement that day? Have you been traveling? Are you sick? There's a lot of things that are at play here. Yeah. And so that is very normal for everybody to fluctuate some. And one thing that people on average do that are successful at maintaining their weight long term is that they do monitor their weight, usually an average of once a week. But it's very important to know that you have those fluctuations, and to expect that. So thank you for bringing that up.
I think with weight, like with the scale, anybody that's ever struggled with weight, we have a love-hate relationship with that freaking scale. You know what I mean? And I hear I'm not going to lie, sometimes I feel like a mama there, and like a big sister in our community when I see people come across my feeds and I see them saying certain things like, I'm only down half a pound this week, or I'm down 5 pounds this week, or I didn't lose anything this week, or I gained a pound this week. And it hurts me because I know that they just haven't had the realizations yet. I know they're not there yet, that they don't understand that weight loss isn't linear, that they don't understand that they're all of those things that you just mentioned. Like, that's not just with maintenance. That's when you're in this, I guess, program, or however you want to look at it, on this journey. We used to hashtag Mounjaro journey back in the day, and like, I feel like those things, like, the body is not static. Like it's going to fluctuate, and it hurts me because I know I can't come at them like a big mama sister bear and be like, listen to me. It doesn't fucking matter. But I will tell you the reason I actually learned that, because a lot of this, I didn't have guidance in the beginning. We all just had each other,
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a nostalgic moment. And on TikTok, that was it. We were all just running our mouths about GLP-1s, medications,
Wild West,
shot days and weigh-in days. Like, we were friggin', great trains coming through and measuring our loads. Like, I mean, that's what we were doing, because we always thought that the weight, really the weight's a symptom of the disease, right? But we didn't know that at the time. We weren't thinking of it that way until the doctors like you came forward, like, let's talk about the data. Let's talk about the facts. Let's talk about things, which is how this podcast came about. But man, I have ADHD bad today. Y'all hearing that? Damn. Staying with me. Okay, we don't have to edit that out. It'll be funny. What was I talking about? It's because I had the nostalgia moment, because TikTok's about to be banned.
No, it was, I just tell you, it was like the Wild West back then. Like 2 years ago, it was the Wild West.
But it's hard for me now because everybody comes on this journey. And for the most part, unless, in my opinion, they're going to like a metabolic health telehealth, right? Or they're going to an obesity specialist or endocrinologist. And sometimes not even then, they don't get it. But you know how I learned is I had already been on all the GLP-1s. And then I got on Mounjaro. And when I was on Mounjaro, I lost so much inflammation. I was losing like a pound a day because, and that's the one big difference, I think, in the two that I experienced with my body. Because I think that from an appetite perspective, I had success on both. But the inflammation was so vast. But I got excited about it. So I started weighing every day. What I learned is that my body kind of has a true north, which is before my cycle and about a week after my cycle. And I was like, that's what I'm going to weigh. And that's when and those were my numbers, so that I wouldn't obsess about it and do it every day or even like every week. And now, honestly, now that I'm in whatever this maintenance thing is, I hardly weigh at all, unless I wake up and I feel skinny. Do you know that feeling?
Yeah.
You're like, not skinny for the, like, like Kardashians, skinny for Kim, this Kim, Carlos, not Kardashian. And if I feel that, then I might pop on the scale. But I just feel like it's so arbitrary, these numbers. Like, I think it's important on the journey because your doctor needs to know your rate of loss, right? But once you get to a certain place, or when you hit these like stalls and stuff, like it can be so discouraging to get on that scale,
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes me think, so it's very, I would say, easy for me to talk about, numbers on the scale, and because I'm a little bit detached from it, I'm seeing that as data. Like I would see a blood pressure or an A1C, and like you said, you want to.
As I'm teaching you how to be more empathetic. That's what
Well, it's like, but like you said, you want to know those numbers because you want to watch the trends over time, and that's helpful information to have. But if somebody does have, a negative emotional reaction to getting on the scale, then that is a indication that maybe working with a therapist that is trained in the space is really, really helpful to help with your journey as well, along with working with your doctor.
Yeah, nice. Go ahead, Kat.
Oh,
sorry.
So speaking of being the Wild West, and now things are definitely changing, sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much for the better. A lot of our members are losing their access to these medications. What are some of the other treatments that can help hunger and manage that regain?
Quick pause here. I've had moments on my GLP-1 journey where insurance changes or rising costs force me to look for a new provider. And honestly, that process can feel very overwhelming. But that's why the Plus Sides podcast is partnered with GLP Winner to give our subscribers a resource to help them make that decision easier. GLP Winner is a comparison platform that lets you explore telehealth providers in all 50 states, whether you're looking for brand name medications or compounded options. You can see pricing up front, read reviews, and get a clear picture of which provider might align best with your needs. Check it out today at glpwinner.com/plus-sides. That's glpwinner.com/plus-sides. Don't forget the Z. Let me tell you a quick story. I was telling Kat how I was regaining weight after my 100-pound loss using GLP-1 medications, and I was having snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m., and I had hot flashes, and I was worried. But Kat was like, listen, I went through this last year. It's perimenopause, and I started HRT, and she used this company called Winona. So I started going there to see if this was something that was going with me. Turns out it was, because I'm 46, and it's been amazing. It's taken a while to find the right dose, but once I did, it's just been huge. I've been sleeping. I feel more myself again. And the hot flashes are gone, which is, geez, really bad. So I will tell you, it's just been so big for me. And so I wanted to partner with them on the podcast because obviously many of our listeners are going through this same age range and definitely are having these issues. And there's just no need for you to suffer. So if you go to the link that's in our link tree, you can click on that and save money. If you go there and you meet all the criteria, and this might be something for you to try. So I just want to make sure you had this great resource because it's just been such a big difference for me and Kat. Again, you can go to the link in our link tree and get what you need.
"20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise." That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Yeah. So we do have our other medications that have been on the market for a long time. And so potentially switching to one of those other options for more of the weight maintenance. So phentermine, Qsymia, Contrave, potentially even metformin for the insulin resistance. And then working with your healthcare team, working with your obesity medicine physician, maybe a dietitian, an exercise trainer if you have one, those sorts of things. If you are newer in your journey and you have, more weight that you're wanting to lose or several weight-related conditions, then it would be worth talking with a bariatric and metabolic surgeon because those treatments are highly effective and available and often covered by insurance.
Yes.
And what we've learned more and more is that bariatric and metabolic surgery, we used to think it was really effective because it was reducing the amount of food that you could eat at one time or affecting absorption. But what we've learned more and more is that it's affecting our GLP-1 agonists and other our GLP-1 hormone and other gut hormones, just like the medications. And so potentially if you have recently started one and notice that you're responding well, then I would anticipate that you'd respond well to bariatric surgery too.
Yeah, I think it's something to consider. We have surgeons on our show as well. Some of surgeons have said, I may start you on a GLP-1, see how far you go, and then do the surgery and you're more successful. Or maybe you've been and you've already had the surgery and I put you on a GLP-1 because you've had regain, because like half the people that got surgery regain, which is like insane, but true.
Yeah.
But ultimately, still what the doctors have told us is that even now with GLP-1s, for the most part, the most successful treatment we have for obesity has been surgery. Now, I had lap band surgery, which didn't change my biology, right? And then I'm doing this. I'm not ready to cash in that chip, but I know I have a chronic disease, So if I ever do, then I want it available for if and when I need to. So for my blood sugar is not controlled, if I start having issues again, if I regain again, then like that is for sure one of the tools I will pull out of my toolkit. But I think it's important for people to be aware of it because, like you said, some insurances do cover it, and there is the access issue. I think that it's just important that people know all of the options. And I think sometimes when people get to maintenance, they may think they have to be on a GLP-1, but ultimately, like you said, you may be able to take something else, at least an interim. I think that it's important for us to talk about the mental piece of losing access a little bit.
Yes.
I'd love for Amanda to chime in on this as well, if she's open. I know that when you have this life-changing treatment and nothing has else worked, okay, and you're going to lose it. I literally had it's killing me. I'm just really sensitive, but I had this, it's like a criticism from my dad my whole life. Sorry, Dad, I love you. But there was a girl that sent me a message that was losing access and specifically said, I'd rather die. I'd rather die than go back to like I was. I really think it's important because I understand that feeling and it's not like I haven't felt it. Okay. It's not like anybody hasn't felt it.
Yeah.
Right. But understand everything has changed now. Okay. There is surgery. There are other GLP-1s. There are other medicines to help with appetite. There are things that you can do in interim. And just because you lose access now, it does not mean you are losing access forever. There's like 20 medications in the pipeline from other companies right now.
Yes.
We have cracked the code. Okay.
The train has left the
Cracked-
station per
we have literally
Dr.
cracked
Albert.
the code, okay.
Yes.
It's open. There is
Yeah.
no such thing as losing access forever.
Never.
So please reset your mind and understand that if you are losing access, it is only temporary, and there are some other tools that you can use in interim with your doctor, and we'll go from there. One step at a time, as Amanda would say, from a collective experience, right? So, and I think that's a lot of work that you're trying to do. I'd love if you have any insight there, girl.
I actually had someone reach out for the first time, and they were like, Amanda, can you please help me? And I was like, I didn't know my name was out there yet. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, they're calling me by my name. How'd they get that? But yeah, they were like, please help me. I just lost insurance coverage and I'm so terrified and I don't know what I'm going to do. And can you point me in the direction of something that's affordable? And I was like, oh, well, there are these 2 telehealth providers that are great. And I'm thinking to myself, who knows how long they'll be able to provide, but at least they can help in the interim.
Yeah.
And I did have the very first person who reached out to add their story to the blog.
Yeah.
Was a woman who wanted to remain anonymous, talking about how this medication had changed her life and her son's life, and that they were both terrified of losing access. And at the very end of her story, she said, please don't let them take this medication away from us. And I cried.
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
It was so incredibly touching and relatable. And to be completely honest, my journey has just begun not that long ago.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 months. I am just dipping my toes in the water.
When that switch comes on, you're like, shit.
Oh, it's 100% true. I can't imagine the torture that I and other people will be going through if we lose access. It'll be actual torture.
When we started the podcast, I think I was only 6 months in. Like it's, and we were having those aha moments a couple months into, and it changes everything, And like I tell people all the time, like, or I try to in my content, right, is that people aren't afraid of getting fat again. People think that's what it is, but it's not. It's the inflammation and it's the torture of the food noise. People don't get it. It's not like being hungry all the time. It's not. It's constant. It's all you can think about. And because it's all you can think about, you tell yourself you're garbage. Because society tells you you're garbage. And that is horrible torture. And so I don't think people actually understand. They think it's, I don't want to regain my weight. That's not what it actually is actually happening. It's that you're losing access to treat your disease, right? And you will likely regain and hurt all the time, mentally and physically, because it's both, And
so for many of us, it's shrinking. Like you got so used to being like just part of the scenery. You're just a piece of furniture in a room. You just shrank because you just didn't look like everybody else. Yeah. So
you didn't want to look any bigger than you were, right?
Exactly.
Many of us have experienced this in our society, but we're going to change that. That's what we're going to do. It may take years.
It's going to take a little while.
Yeah, it is.
Just a little.
It's been in terms of this movement getting started, I feel like a lot has happened in 2 years. Like we've seen a big shift. And I just think the more we talk about it and the louder we get and the more podcasts we have and the more creators we have and the more doctors we have that are coming forward and creating and coming on podcasts, then the better, and we'll keep it going.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ogle.
Right? I feel like a lot has happened in the last 2 months.
Yeah, girl.
I can't imagine 2 years from now and the amount of change that you guys made happen and went through.
We had the CEO of Noom on the podcast a month or two ago. And that was hard for me because it's a diet and I really had to stretch myself, But he kind of said basically, I think in a few years, this will all sort of be worked out. And I said, listen, I get it, but we're dying now. And so a few years is
Agreed.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I don't think people understand either. It's progressive disease. It's literally killing us. You know, this isn't just fat people wanting to get skinny, you know? And he was like, yeah, like he heard me. And you could tell, like he's never dealt with obesity personally. And he was honest about that, but that's what it is, you know?
And then that the fear that I have sometimes is the, when you gain the weight back, or I have many times, it's that much harder on your system, your heart, your body, all of your systems, just to put it back on.
The yo-yo.
The yo-yo, yeah.
Amanda motioned way between the ears.
But just here we go again. No, I don't want. I want my heart to stay healthy. Yeah,
for sure. Go ahead, Kat. Any other question? Sorry.
Oh, okay.
The ADHD is real bad tonight. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Love me through it, please.
You're energized, and I'm feeding off your energy. I love it. Okay, so recent publication, Weight Matters from the Obesity Action Coalition. Just go to the website, everybody, and register, and you get it. You don't have to pay for it. You get this Weight Matters magazine. But this article it was amazing to me. It was obesity is not a motivation problem. So it's great to see an article address this, a society's value on weight control, this notion that it's just willpower, motivation, and self-control versus things like genetics, socioeconomics, health factors, right? Can you share some of your thoughts about this and why we should take a broader look at obesity as a whole, and maybe in medicine, and take our thoughts out of motivation versus actually obesity as a disease? That was a big question.
That was a big question. It was a good one, though.
It's a very important question. And I think that anybody who practices obesity medicine knows that it was never about a lack of motivation or willpower or effort. I've never had a patient come to me and, they haven't tried anything on them, by themselves. Everyone has tried multiple diets and multiple supplements and exercises and programs. This isn't, the first time that they're coming for help. And so we all in the field know that, and it's exciting that it's getting publicized more and more. So hopefully the general public can really recognize that is the case, because there, of course, is so much bias, weight bias out there. If it was all about lifestyle and poor, motivation, then this would have been solved a long time ago. The diet industry is huge. And I looked in 2023, it was a $90 billion industry. So there is plenty of, I guess, quote unquote, help for diet and exercise, but we know that is not effective. That's not what we need. We need real proven treatments for the chronic condition of obesity, which is what we've been, starting to develop recently. And so, I also think about, I don't know who told me this, but they were talking about somebody who was saying that it's all calories in, calories out. And they told that person, and this is somebody who never struggled with weight in their life. And so they told that person, why don't you follow the recommendations that you are telling your patients or other people and stick with this strict diet, reduce by 500 calories every day and see how far you can make it. And I don't think they couldn't even make it a week, because it is very hard to reduce those calories consistently, which is why we need these effective treatments. And another really interesting thing that I've been really wrapping my mind around recently is, with all conditions, there's a difference between the prevention and treatment. And so for prevention, lifestyle may be a great option. And, that's how, I identify with, is I'm preventing overweight and obesity, and I can, exercise and follow my nutrition plan. And hopefully, that continues to work for me. But if somebody has the disease of obesity, we need to actually treat them, and they deserve treatment and deserve access to that treatment, because in no other condition do we rely on the preventative strategies for the treatment of that condition. It's only things like obesity and addiction treatment, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so true. You know, so specifically about like the eating, I think that so I don't know if you watch my show very much, but I've been talking about my son. So my son and my husband are both autistic. So food and textures are a thing for us. It's hard. And my husband, Gen X autistic, right? So he didn't talk till he was 3. They got him talking and that was it. Rub some dirt on it, right? Typical. I mean, they didn't know. Like, we're just like in sort of this generation of didn't know, right? And my son is obviously keenly aware of what I do from an obesity perspective. Like, he went with us to Capitol Hill when we went to hear the CEO of Novo Nordisk talk. And he said to me the other day, and he goes, I don't think that I'll get obesity. I'm really quite thin, or I'm really quite lean, something like that. And I said, I tell you what, I said, you're predisposed, but that does not mean that you will get it. I said, but I'm going to tell you how you can possibly avoid getting it. And I was like, protein, fruits, vegetables, and move your body. And I said, and if you do that regularly, there's a good chance you won't. But I think, and this is where I had to take a beat, because of these medicines, he will never suffer. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he does develop this, he will never suffer. Like, we're there, and like Dave has diabetes from On the Pen, and we talk about a lot when zepbound got approved, like what that meant for us, for our kids. Because that's where we're at. And it is a miracle for those reasons. And there's a reason that when we went to Capitol Hill, that these politicians were talking about obesity as a disease, and they were talking and using the word miracle drug, because it is, sorry. But anyway,
No,
yes.
don't apologize. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And that's how almost all of my patients describe it as, is a miracle and life-changing and life-saving. And that's what the evidence is showing more and more. And when we are treating the underlying cause of obesity and insulin resistance, then we're able to achieve a healthy weight for that person, maintain it, and then prevent complications like diabetes, like heart disease, like fatty liver disease, and chronic kidney disease, all of those complications that we see from weight-related chronic conditions. We're able to prevent that. And so, like you said, we are saving lives with treating obesity. And obesity medicine, we say treat obesity first, treat the underlying cause, and then we're not gonna have to worry about those other conditions. Cancer too. There are so many cancers that are associated with excess weight. So this is really the crux of preventative medicine, and really needs to have an emphasis on.
Totally agree. I think too, if you're new on your journey, and we're talking a lot about food in this episode, I will tell you the best advice that I feel like I can give, but I would love to hear if I feel like I'm doing it right. But people say what do I eat? I would say it's the most common question that we get, because most people that come into our lives, at least now while we have TikTok, that's what they're asking, because most of the doctors have no idea. Right. And I just tell people in the beginning, prioritize protein and just eat a little bit less, a little less than what you've been eating. That's it. Because I feel like if we try to do too much, then we end up on this whole very diet culture mentality, and we're doing things the way we did them before, where we always regained. And I just feel like everything needs to be different. In the beginning, I think it's just make sure you're eating protein at every meal to start. Eat a little bit less. That's honestly the best advice I feel like I can give anybody. So in terms of your patients, do you think that is okay that I said that?
Yeah, I think that's solid advice.
It's
I don't want to get in trouble.
No, that's solid advice. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that, for sure. And really, for anybody, whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, that's solid advice. Making sure that you're staying well hydrated. So dehydration is a common complication on the medication. It can, decrease your hunger, but also it can decrease your thirst sensation.
Yes.
And so a lot of people get dehydrated on the medicine, and then they're feeling nauseous, or it leads to
Exactly.
constipation. And then,
We're literally
then,
all drinking our water right now.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
So keep your water by you all the time. Consider an electrolyte drink for sure. Stay well hydrated. And then protein, especially women in the menopausal phase. That is
Yeah.
a time where we're notorious for not getting enough protein. I was actually listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about the hormonal changes actually cause us to like crave more carbohydrates during that
My
time and less
gosh. Okay.
protein.
Thank you for validating that.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh my
proven.
gosh.
And yes, and that's a time when we need more protein. And we hear constantly about the muscle loss with these medications. And it's not by any means a guarantee. There's not necessarily association with that. It's just with any weight loss, we're going to see some muscle mass loss. But to combat that, you want to make sure that you're getting enough protein. So yes, some protein with each meal, possibly adding some protein snacks in between. Protein shakes, protein bars, those all count. You don't have to get fancy or, use
Coffee.
the most.
Coffee
Anyway,
time.
Oh, is that the coffee?
Sure.
The protein coffee?
coffee time on my.
Big profit in the community. Really
Oh,
big.
yes, yes,
Anyway,
yes. Yeah,
okay.
that counts. That's great. Get it in the morning or all throughout the day, how much coffee you
Mhm.
drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I love whenever we're able to focus on adding more than subtracting. So adding protein,
Yeah.
adding the drinks, adding fiber to those things. Psychologically, that's super helpful.
Yeah.
But from a nutrition standpoint, it's essential.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, good. No one's going to sue me then.
Not at all. No. Not
Sorry, Kat.
medical
I know you
advice.
had a
Sorry.
question.
No, it's a good segue because
Okay.
your guide on when it's good to eat more calories. I also want to give you kudos because there was one of the steps or one of the points when to eat more calories was a day after a binge. And when I used to do that, when I used to do the nice, good, solid binge, I would just work out all morning and not eat and have black coffee and do all those things. And anyway, for those of us, those in the audience that are listening and have not seen your guide, what are some of the times when you recommend your patients to consume more calories? Actually,
Yeah, I think that's a really important one is the day after a binge. Whether you have binge eating disorder or you overate that night, it's very, very common to not eat the next day, whether that's you're not necessarily full or you're restricting and often
Mhm.
punishing yourself for overeating the previous night. And that restriction is really just going to set you up for a binge later that day because you're going to be physiologically hungry. You need calories, you need nutrients, you need the protein. And so if you can get that in the next day, then you're less likely to overeat the next day. And it can help then also balance your blood sugars and your insulin levels, which can keep your um, satiety more stable throughout the day. So you're not then craving those carbohydrates and sugars again later in the evening, and can hopefully break that cycle a little bit. So that's definitely one time that I recommend it. And then the protein and the fiber, I recommend eating more of those. Ideally, at the first part of the meal, kind of a similar concept that it's going to help stabilize your blood sugar and insulin levels. Even if you are having a more carbohydrate forward meal, if you eat protein and or fiber prior to that, then that is going to stabilize your blood sugar and insulin levels with that meal. And then also it ensures that you are getting that protein in, especially if you are on a GLP-1, you may find that you're not hungry enough to complete or yeah, not you're not able to complete the meal because you become full earlier. So you want to make
Mhm.
sure that you're getting the essential nutrients in at the beginning of that meal. If maintaining or building your muscle, as we mentioned before, is a priority, which it should be for all of us.
Yeah.
If we're able to maintain our muscle mass, that helps us to live longer and a more functional life. Then again, making sure you're getting that protein. And then also to maintain your metabolism. So if you are cutting back on your calories in a very significant amounts, so it's usually
Yeah.
more than 500 calories a day, then that will over time lower your metabolism. So a smaller dip in your calories over time will help maintain that metabolism for you. And oh,
But
one last one.
yeah.
Um, I recommend planning treats. And so if you know that there's a certain dessert or a dish that you really like, and it may not be, something that you want to eat every single day, you will be like, oh, well, this time of this day, I'm going to have this treat that I really enjoy. And then you can fully enjoy it at that time, at that day, instead of trying to say, "Oh, I'm never gonna have ice cream again." You're like, "Okay, on Thursday evening, I'll have ice cream." You can sit down and enjoy it rather than resisting constantly and then binging on it later. So a similar concept.
That's great. It's also wanted to make I guess a point with our newbies who are listening. So if you are having a very strong reaction to GLP-1 therapy, if it's working very, very strongly for you, still remember to eat, or maybe
Mhm.
just drink a protein shake, just so, like what
Get
Dr.
it
Ogle
in.
said,
Get it
you don't
in.
want to kill your metabolism, right?
I use the 3-bite rule just like we do with our kids, right? Like if you're struggling and you have a lot of aversion, I have found that I have to re-engage sometimes my brain with food. So like I will sit down and I will make myself have 3 bites of protein and 3 sips of water. And I find that my brain re-engages and go, oh yeah, we are supposed to do this, you know? And then
I
I
like
can
that.
have my meal like a normal human and drink my water like a normal human and the amounts that are normal. It's weird to always aim for normal, but that's what I find. It's like with when you have your kids eat 3 bites of peas. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. And like I find like that helps. So if it's whatever it is, like, but I do find there's something about specifically protein. And it is hard that like getting over that wall sometimes, if especially you're new and just starting out, but you need to eat. You need to eat for the body that you're in, minus 500.
Mhm.
That's like on average what you're wanting to do at least every day. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
3-bite rule. All right, Kat.
You're right.
Last question. I thought it was a good one.
This is an interesting one because I feel like I too have night eating disorder. I did not know it was a thing, and I was so glad I found it. I found a lot of great stuff on your page.
Kat always talks about the
Like
night thing.
I
She's
was
like,
excited.
bitch, go to bed. That's what she tells herself when she's getting all hungry at
Oh, when I
night.
get hungry, I do tell myself, "Bitch, go to bed." In my head,
That's what she says.
because you're just tired. You're just tired.
Just go to bed.
You're just tired. Sometimes, a lot of times it wins. There's some times when I'm like, "Oh, I want popcorn." We are getting derailed because of my ADHD.
Yeah.
Anyway, so could
Two friends
you
start a
expand?
podcast. I can't pay attention.
Um, yeah, could you touch on night eating disorder, and how to, I guess, combat it or just be best prepared for it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, night eating disorder is when somebody eats at least 25% of their daily calories after dinner. And oftentimes it is associated with like waking up and eating in the middle of the night.
Mm,
Oftentimes people feel like they need to eat to kind of put themselves to sleep. That can be really common. The not being hungry the next day is also very common.
mhm.
And then mood changes around these eating patterns, also very common with this condition. Um, the treatment can be individualized, so there are some lifestyle things that you can do. Um, any sleep hygiene habits, getting outside in the morning, getting that sunlight, moving your body a little bit can be helpful. Going back to eating breakfast, ideally getting protein with that breakfast, just like with binge eating disorder. working with a therapist, very helpful here. And then there are some medications, often our mood medications, that can help regulate that mood disturbance, can help with sleep, and may help reduce how often this happens.
Nice. I
Perfect.
didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah. So once again, get your protein in.
And like, don't beat yourself up if you have this issue. It's a known issue, and there are people that can help you. And specifically, if you're in Missouri, I don't know. Dr. Ogle can help you,
Definitely be nice to yourself. You don't call yourself the B word. You don't. I just do that. So you like, sweetheart, go to bed.
Sweetheart. All right, that's new. Subword. That's what we call it with Warren when he says the naughty words. I said we need a substitution word. Now his name is good gravy. I'm like,
don't beat yourself up.
That. Mama was raised Baptist. Please don't.
Mama was raised.
Please. My parents heard it one time and I was like, I'm dying. I felt myself just like falling to the floor. He said the F word in front of my parents.
Shut the front door. Serious?
Guys, I melted. Oh my Lord. And then my dad shamed him. Sorry, Daddy, ADHD. It was awful. I was like, replacement words. So no B word, no F word. Sweetheart, go to bed.
We gotta talk about this story later on, Kim.
It was bad. PTSD. Anyway, hey. This has been a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I will have all the links to all the people and all the resources in the land in the show notes in the description. So you guys can click on that and check it out. And to get anything that you need. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I think it's been a good talk, guys.
And if you're in Missouri.
Are you
accepting patients
in other states?
So I am licensed in Missouri, and my personal telehealth company is called Missouri Metabolic Health. And then I work for a company called QuickMD, and that's where I do my opioid use disorder, but they also I do weight management there as well. And for QuickMD, I work in Missouri and Mississippi, and I'm working on getting my licensed in New Jersey as well. So I see a little bit broader patient audience there.
I love it. Great.
Check her out on her socials. They're so useful.
Yes. Awesome.
I'm ready to move to Missouri.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, again, lovely conversation. Thank you guys
so much, guys.
Yes. And
thank you so much.
We will see you next week. Keep up the fight and just know that like legitimately, guys, all the science proves that it's not your fault. It's just not. And you're not alone. Look at all of us. Okay. So everything's going to be okay. And even if you lose access, it is temporary. Okay.
It's so temporary.
So temporary. Thank you very much, friends.
Let me tell you a quick story. I was telling Kat how I was regaining weight after my 100-pound loss using GLP-1 medications, and I was having snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m. and I had hot flashes, and I was worried. But Kat was like, listen, I went through this last year. It's perimenopause, and I started HRT, and she used this company called Winona. So I started going there to see if this was something that was going with me. Turns out it was, because I'm 46. And it's been amazing. It's taken a while to find the right dose, but once I did, it's just been huge. I've been sleeping. I feel more myself again. And the hot flashes are gone, which is, geez, really bad. So I will tell you, it's just been so big for me. And so I wanted to partner with them on the podcast because obviously many of our listeners are going through the same age range and definitely are having these issues. And there's just no need for you to suffer. So if you go to the link that's in our link tree, you can click on that and save money. If you go there and you meet all the criteria, and this might be something for you to try. So I just want to make sure you had this great resource because it's just been such a big difference for me and Kat. Again, you can go to the link in our link tree and get what you need. Today's episode is brought to you by Ro, a telehealth platform that's changing the game of GLP-1 access. What sets Ro apart? Ro understands the challenges of navigating insurance hurdles and the skyrocketing prices of GLP-1 medications. That's why they specialize in getting insurance approvals for GLP-1s. And if insurance is a barrier, they go a step further by prescribing brand name zepbound vials for prices close to those of compound GLP-1s. With Ro, you're not just getting a prescription, you're getting a partner, in your journey that's helping you access affordable treatment and guiding you every step of the way. Whether it's insurance approvals or cost-effective alternatives, Ro is here to make sure that you get the medication you need. Visit ro.co/plussides with a Z today to see how they can help you take control of your weight management journey with affordable, accessible care. That's ro.co/plussides with a Z, making healthcare work for you. Check out the link in our show notes for more details. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.